Very strong storms are coming to the United States, with strong tornadoes, destructive winds, and large hail on the table, as a trough is making its way into the United States, with ingredients coming together to create a potential for a tornado outbreak. So I'm going to be talking about what you need to know about this severe weather potential, so let's get right into it. It is Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, and you can see here we have a significant severe weather outbreak shaping up across parts of the United States today. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk going from parts of the Ohio Valley up into the northern plains, where isolated severe storms will be a potential today. Then there's this level 2 out of 5 slight risk going from the Texas Panhandle all the way up into parts of the northern plains. And then there's 2 enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5. One is out here in parts of southwestern Kansas and Oklahoma Panhandle, and then another one goes from northern Nebraska up to parts of North Dakota, where we have potential for significant severe weather today. If we switch over to the tornado risk, you can see that the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 10% tornado risk out here in eastern North Dakota. There's also a 5% tornado risk that goes around that, and then there's a 2% tornado risk that goes around that 5% within these areas. We're also looking at a potential for widespread destructive damaging winds, mainly within this 45% wind risk over here. We cannot rule out 80 miles per hour plus damaging winds today. Can't even rule out some very strong winds out here in southwestern Kansas, plus Oklahoma Panhandle. So definitely be aware out here. This is actually marked with a wind conditional intensity group 1 risk, which means strong winds 75 miles per hour or even more can't be ruled out. And we're also going to be looking at chance for some large to very large hail that could be getting up to hen egg size, mainly out here in this 30% hail risk marked with the hail conditional intensity group 1 risk. Definitely make sure to park your car in a garage out there, as it could be getting damaged by hail today, potentially hen egg size hail or even more. Now, as we get into tomorrow on Wednesday, June 10th, we will have another severe weather setup. This includes a very populated area. The Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk going from the Texas Panhandle to the Ohio Valley all the way up into parts of the Midwest, where some isolated severe weather will be a potential. And then you can see there's a level 2 out of 5 slight risk going from parts of eastern Kansas all the way up into parts of Minnesota, where we do have potential for some scattered severe weather tomorrow. And then we actually do have an enhanced risk outlined out here for parts of southeastern Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, parts of northern Illinois, and eastern Iowa. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on Wednesday. I think Wednesday could be a very significant severe weather setup. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a pretty large tornado risk, 2% tornado risk going from parts of Minnesota down to northeastern Kansas, where an isolated tornado can't be ruled out tomorrow on Wednesday. There's also a 5% tornado risk going from parts of northern Missouri all the way up in parts of southeastern Minnesota. And there's also a 10% tornado risk in parts of southwestern Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa. This is also marked with a tornado conditional intensity group 1 risk, where we could be seeing a potential for a strong tornado tomorrow, EF2 plus out there. So please make sure you're staying weather aware if you're out in those areas tomorrow. We're also going to be looking at a big damaging wind threat within these areas tomorrow, with the main concern for damaging winds being inside this 30% wind risk marked with the wind conditional intensity group 1 risk. We could be seeing 75 miles per hour, even more of mile per hour winds out here. So definitely be aware for that out there on Wednesday. The only thing is that storm mode and stuff with this severe weather event is that we don't know how long those supercells will remain discrete, and they could just become a line and mainly be causing destructive winds and not that big of a tornado threat. But we will see how long those supercells are going to be sustained, and I wouldn't route an upgrade to maybe a moderate risk if the models are hinting at that. You can see here we do have a threat for a large to very large hail tomorrow out here, which we could be seeing hen egg size hail out here. So definitely make sure you're staying aware for that. And park your car in a garage so it doesn't get damaged by hail tomorrow. Definitely make sure you're having a way to get alerts over the next few days if you're out here and everything like that. Then as we get into Thursday, I'm really concerned about Thursday. I think Thursday could be a very significant severe weather setup. There's a whole marginal risk going from parts of Oklahoma to parts of the Great Lakes region and parts of the Northeast. So in those areas, it could be seeing isolated severe weather on Thursday. They'll kind of shift this and change a few stuff on this outlook, but it's a level 2 out of 5 slight risk out here as well, going from northeastern Oklahoma into the Great Lakes region. And then there's actually enhanced risk going from northeastern Missouri all the way up into southwestern Michigan. So I'm really keeping an eye on Thursday. I think Thursday could be a very significant severe weather setup. I think it will be a chance for some tornadoes, strong tornadoes potentially. And then they'll kind of get into more of a line producing destructive, damaging winds, especially within these areas. So that's definitely going to be something that we got to be watching very closely. This is probabilistic. See, there's a 30% any severe risk probability with a SIG 1, any severe Sig 1 risk going around that. Then on Friday, we have another severe weather threat out here in parts of the Northeast and parts of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic. If you're in this 15% any severe risk on Friday, definitely make sure you're staying weather aware. We're going to have another severe weather threat across southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, and southwestern Iowa. Also includes northwestern Missouri. So yeah, Saturday, we have another severe weather threat out here. So definitely also be aware out there. If we push up the timeline, you can see we're going to start getting some storms to develop around 4 p.m. Eastern today. So we're going to get some initiation out there. Then they'll kind of quickly go into like a line. I do think that we could be seeing strong to potentially large tornadoes out here. So definitely make sure you're being aware for that. I do think the main concern will be some damaging winds and hail, but I definitely can't rule out some tornadoes today out here. Mainly when those supercells are more discrete and they're not in a line. So that's definitely going to be something that we got to be watching. Then the storms will kind of transition into a line, producing a big damaging wind threat out there in parts of North Dakota. So what it could look like at 8 p.m. You could say they're going to get more into a line potentially. Then 9 p.m. and then 10 p.m. they'll get more into a pretty significant line. We're also going to have some of those storms out there in parts of Nebraska push through as well, as you can see right there. Producing maybe a potential for an isolated tornado, but mainly a damaging wind chance. Then out there in parts of Kansas and kind of those areas where you have that enhanced risk out there, have some storms start to pop up, producing a chance for very strong winds. I think that we could be seeing 80 mile per hour plus winds down there today, so definitely make sure you stay aware for that. Maybe like 75 mile per hour plus winds can't be ruled out. Definitely stay aware for that. And I do think that an isolated tornado will be a potential out there. So southwestern Kansas and parts of Oklahoma Panhandle, definitely make sure you are staying weather aware for that. Over to the Cape, you can see here, this is basically storm fuel. It stands for convective available potential energy. There's a volatile environment out there for our storms today, so definitely make sure you're staying weather aware. We could be seeing up to like 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram out there, which is quite a lot of storm fuel out there, which our environment is extremely primed out here for severe weather, so definitely make sure you are staying weather aware for that. And then there's also a decent amount of significant tornado parameter. I do think the main tornado risk will kind of stay out of the North Dakota area. I think we'll mainly go into like the Manitoba and Saskatchewan areas. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on that. But you can see we're also going to have to watch some of these areas out there in eastern Nebraska. But we're probably going to have more of a linear type of storms out there than supercells, which I don't think it's going to be too crazy out there. But if we did get like a supercell to form out there in eastern Nebraska, I do think that it could be a pretty significant tornado producer. There's also a lot of moisture going up into these areas, getting to like the 70s and 60s and stuff. Like there's a lot of dew points out here, and it's like a lot of moisture is out here, which is this is like ingredient that you need for the severe weather. Now, as we head into tomorrow on Wednesday, because we're going to have some storms push through, and then those could be producing some damaging winds in the morning of tomorrow on Wednesday. They'll kind of push through. There may be an isolated tornado. Then you can see here, we're going to have some more supercells and storms start to develop out there, producing some damaging winds, hail, and maybe some tornadoes out there, maybe even a strong tornado. Looks like we're going to have a very widespread severe weather event tomorrow on Wednesday out here. So definitely make sure you're staying weather aware. Storms should start developing around 1 p.m. out here, the main storms, and then continue to push through those areas. If we get any storms pop up in front of the line right here, I think that we could be seeing a very significant tornado threat if that happens. And we're going to continue to have storms kind of push through there. It kind of just depends on the morning convection and how much like rain we have in the morning stuff. But I think the main areas that we're going to have to be watching tomorrow and Wednesday would be Minneapolis, Des Moines, and Chicago. I think those are the main areas that we got to be keeping an eye on. And parts of southern Wisconsin as well, and northern Illinois. So I think where the main damaging wind threat will be tomorrow. So definitely make sure you're staying aware out there. And then you can see we're going to have some more storms potentially start developing after this line kind of pushes through. So it looks pretty messy on the future radar here. So definitely please make sure you're staying weather aware out there. I think Chicago could get your storm tomorrow around 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern. So we'll keep an eye on that and everything like that. And then southern Wisconsin, be aware from like 3 p.m. to like 7 p.m. to get your storms and stuff. You guys might even get more storms after that. And our environment out there is extremely primed as well for significant severe weather, with a lot of significant tornado parameter out there. Pretty crazy value, so this is definitely going to be a very primed environment for the supercells and everything to develop out there. But the question is the storm mode, is it going to be more of a linear storm mode and those storms are going to be more of a line of storms, or are those storms or are those supercells going to remain discrete? If the models are showing those storms, those supercells remaining more discrete, I do think that an upgrade will be a potential with our tornado risk. But as of right now, it looks kind of messy setup with a line of storms, which means the tornado risk might not last for too long. It might not be that crazy, but definitely still make sure you're staying weather alert for tornadoes. And I do think strong tornadoes will be a pretty big concern tomorrow, no matter like if it's like a line of storms or supercells. As we're gonna have some supercells initially develop, and those things could produce some tornadoes. Now, as we get into Thursday, you can see here we're gonna have a storm system push through. We're kind of gonna have these line of storms here. I'm really concerned about Thursday, because right when the supercells start initiating, I think that's when we're gonna have a big tornado threat when the supercells initiate and push through there, and then they'll kind of push into more of a line of storms. Also watching a few storms that could pop up out there in southeastern Michigan, but you can see those storms could turn those supercells could all congeal into a line and push through there, producing some damaging winds on Thursday. I think they'll mainly start becoming a line around 5 p.m. and then kind of push towards Chicago probably around 7 p.m. So definitely be aware out there. I do think Fort Wayne could get a storm potentially around 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. So definitely make sure you're staying aware for that. But you can see we're going to have some supercells develop and then kind of push through those areas. Even as it gets into a line of storms, I do think a QLCS tornado threat will be a potential and stuff like that. But I think northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin is going to be the main area to watch on Thursday, especially around 4, 5, 6, and 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. So that's definitely going to be something that we got to keep an eye on. And Thursday looks to be a very significant severe weather setup. Also, if we look over to significant tornado parameter, there's a very decent amount of significant tornado parameter out there. And our environment out there for Thursday is extremely volatile for potential severe weather, getting up to around 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram, which is definitely plenty enough of storm fuel out there and everything like that. So definitely be aware for this, as it could be a pretty big severe weather event, and definitely have a way to get alerts. You can see here there's also a crazy amount of moisture out there. Then as we get into Friday, we're going to have another severe weather setup out there in parts of the northeastern parts of the United States. Mainly it looks like it's going to be a line of storms with which the GFS is pretty much showing right now, so we'll have to keep a very close eye on that. And Saturday, it looks like we're going to have another severe weather potential out here in parts of the plains. We're also going to have a lot of rain with these severe weather setups, as you can see right here. It's going to lead to a lot of flooding. So you can see here, if you're in any of these highlighted areas today, make sure you're staying aware for flooding. And that's pretty much all I got for you in today's video. And I will see you guys in the next one.